Hello everyone, we're back here in Strasbourg and giving you a monthly update, and we don't have enough time to tell everyone about the activity we have been involved in. Martin McGuinness was here in Brussels last week briefing a number of MEPs about the process that was happening in Ireland, particularly the difficulties that we are having with the political process back home, because the perception here in Europe is that everything is sorted, that it's all settled, and Martin wanted to tell people that we were going into an eve of talks. And as a consequence of Martin's briefing, we had today or yesterday at the opening of this session here in Strasbourg, we had President Martin Schulz given a speech in relation to words of encouragement for all the participants in the peace process. Martin didn't want anyone to support Sinn Féin. He was asking people to support the political process and encourage everyone that was involved in the talks. Whilst he was here, he talked to a number of officials about the Globalisation Adjustment Fund, trying to get some help for workers in Ballymena who have been made redundant as a consequence of JTI pulling out. The Commission is willing and able to help. The British government has to make the application, or it has to defer it to the Executive so that the Executive can make the application, and Martin's going to work with Peter Robinson to see if the Executive can get access to the Globalisation Fund. And finally today I'm going to be chairing my first Palestinian delegation. I have got the Ambassador, who the EU Ambassador is going to be in attendance, and obviously someone from the other institutions are going to be here as well, engaging with the MEPs. So that's a challenge, but I'm up for it and looking forward to that. I'm going to hand you over to Lynn, who is going to give you a briefing. I know a minute is not long enough, Lynn, for all the work that you've been involved in.
Well, I suppose this month I was put in charge of a report on the Right to Water campaign, and this is on the back of the failed Citizens Initiative in February this year, where under the Lisbon Treaty they had given citizens the right to sign a petition across 7 member states and to put an idea before the Commission, that the Commission would then produce legislation on it. And the first one of these citizens' initiatives to come before the Commission was the Right to Water, which was basically wanting to enshrine in European law the UN declaration that you cannot make water a commodity, that it is a human right and that everybody has that right to access it. So I'm in charge of the report to try and follow up and put more pressure on the Commission to initiate this legislation. But it's also on the back of what we're seeing at home in Ireland. Over 100,000 people took to the streets of Dublin to campaign against water charges. So what we're going to do in December is we're actually going to bring trade unions over, some Sinn Féin reps, and basically so that we can all share our ideas on how to best to get the Right to Water campaign off the ground in Ireland, but also to put a stop to water charges.
Leah, with her lonely cup.
With my lonely cup. Well, it's all about budgets, Marscana, and fisheries. Today, in fact, we're going to be voting on the budget for 2015. I can say that, being coordinator on the Budget Committee, that there is a delay in payments for 2014 of, I think it's 23.5 billion. So in terms of what that means for Ireland, there's a delay of 56 million coming to Ireland through the European Social Fund and Regional Development Fund, which is going to upset an awful lot of people waiting for payments coming from Europe. We are calling on the Council to deal with this as a matter of urgency, because you can't continue to deal with Budget 2015 until you clear the decks for 2014. So that's the main thing that I've been concentrating on, trying to get a move on that to release that funding immediately. The other thing, of course, is fisheries. We have been putting in amendments on the landing obligation. So, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I mention the word Queenie scallops. Suffice to know that we put an amendment in to make it easier to fish for Queenie scallops, and obviously to reduce some of the over-regulated laws that are coming from Europe. So I'm continually working on those amendments for the fisheries.
Finally, Nad.
After months of wrangling and debate and hearings, we have finally reached the stage this week where the new Commission was voted on. Sinn Féin MEPs joined with many other progressive voices in the European Parliament to vote against the new incoming Commission. Of course, people will be aware of our own difficulties with the Irish nominee, Phil Hogan. But above and beyond that, we believe very strongly that electorates right across member states sent their governments a very clear message that they wanted a change in direction. And instead what we have is a new Commission that will be very much more of the same. It'll be about centralising as much power in the undemocratic institutions of the European Union, and instead of seeing and delivering a real stimulus and investment to create jobs in particularly the regions and in rural communities, we will see further austerity that, as we know in Ireland, has heaped huge pressure on our communities and on many families. So we voted against that as a symbol of the frustration that many of our electorate feel at the failure of the European Union to heed the message that was delivered to them by voters last May.
So from Team Sinn Féin Ireland, slán go fáil.